The ashes of yesterday. John Thompson's life had once been a symphony of purpose and satisfaction. The son of a master stonemason, John had inherited not only his father's skill but also his passion for the craft. His hands, now calloused and stained from years of labor, had once shaped stone into masterpieces that graced the cityscape with timeless elegance. The grandeur of his work, cathedrals, bridges, and monuments, stood as testament to his expertise and dedication. Each creation was a chapter of his legacy, carved with precision and pride. John's life outside of work was just as fulfilling. His modest home, nestled in a quiet neighborhood, was a haven of warmth and love. Every evening as he walked through the door, he was greeted by the vibrant energy of his family. Charlotte, his wife, was the radiant heart of their household. Her dark hair framed a face lit by a constant, reassuring smile. Her eyes, though often tired from the demands of managing their home, sparkled with an undying affection for John and their young daughter, Emma. Emma, with her boundless energy and infectious laughter, was the light that brightened every room she entered. She was the embodiment of joy for John and Charlotte, her giggles echoing through the halls as she played. Family dinners were a cherished ritual, a time to share stories of the day and relish each other's company. These moments, however simple, were the essence of happiness for John, a stark contrast to the uncertain future that loomed ahead. The tranquility of their lives was shattered one fateful morning. The sun was barely peeking through the clouds when the draft notice arrived. The envelope, stark and formal, held the promise of a future far removed from the comfort of home. John's heart sank as he read the letter, its contents a cruel twist of fate. The call to serve in the war in Iraq was not just a demand but a thief of his peace. The impact was immediate and profound. Charlotte's attempt to mask her worry with a brave face was in vain. The fear in her eyes was palpable, a reflection of the uncertainty that now clouded their lives. Emma, though only a child, sensed the gravity of the situation. Her innocence could not shield her from the impending absence of her father. The farewell was tearful, a moment etched in John's memory with a blend of sorrow and resolve. "I'll be back soon," he promised, though the truth was uncertain. Emma's small arms wrapped around his neck, her whispered plea, "Daddy, don't go for too long," broke his heart. The weight of that promise was a burden he would carry with him through the darkest days of war. John's deployment to Iraq was a descent into a world of chaos and fear. The war zone was a stark contrast to the calm streets of his hometown. Each day was a relentless battle for survival, a grim routine punctuated by the sounds of gunfire and explosions. The camaraderie among soldiers was a thin veil over the pervasive anxiety of not knowing if they would see another day. The nights in the desert were eerily quiet, save for the distant echoes of conflict. The soldiers huddled in makeshift shelters, their faces drawn and weary. The dust that clung to their skin and the weight of their gear were constant reminders of the harsh reality they faced. Humor, often a soldier's refuge, was a fleeting comfort. Ramirez, a fellow soldier, joked about the miserable rations they endured, trying to lighten the mood. "I'd settle for anything that isn't explosive," he quipped, his attempt at levity momentarily easing the tension. The tranquility of their patrol was shattered in an instant. An explosion, deafening and violent, threw John to the ground. The pain in his shoulder was sharp and immediate, a cruel reminder of his vulnerability. His comrades rushed to his aid, their voices muffled by the ringing in his ears. As they dragged him to safety, John's world spun with each jarring movement. The chaos of the battlefield receded, replaced by an enveloping darkness. When John awoke, he was in a field hospital. The sterile smell of antiseptic and the hum of medical equipment were alien to the harshness of the front lines. The doctors and nurses moved with purpose, their efficiency a stark contrast to the disarray of war. Dr. Allen, the physician assigned to his case, delivered the grim news with a seriousness that mirrored the severity of John's injury. "You suffered a severe fracture in your shoulder," the doctor explained. "We'll need to operate immediately." The surgery was a protracted ordeal, a test of endurance for both patient and physician. John's recovery was fraught with challenges. Rehabilitation was a grueling process, each movement a painful reminder of what he had lost. The hope of returning to his former self was dimmed by the reality that his shoulder would never fully recover. Dr. Allen's words were a harsh reality check. "Your shoulder will never be the same," he said. "This will limit your physical capabilities." John absorbed the news with a stoic silence. The life he had known, the satisfaction of his craft, the joy of his family, seemed like a distant memory. The war had not only taken a physical toll, but had also stripped away the very essence of his identity. The weight of this new reality was a constant, heavy presence in his life, a stark contrast to the warm, vibrant world he had once known. The struggle within. The long days in the field hospital blurred into a monotonous routine. John Thompson's life had become a cycle of physical therapy sessions and medical consultations. The once vibrant, skilled stonemason was now a shell of his former self, confined to a life of limitations. The battle for recovery was not just physical but psychological. Each day presented a new challenge, a test of resilience in a world that seemed to have turned its back on him. As weeks turned into months, John's progress was slow and fraught with setbacks. The soldiers who had once been his comrades now occupied different roles or had returned home. The camaraderie that had sustained him through the chaos of war was replaced by the isolation of his hospital room. Conversations with other veterans offered little solace. Each story was a reminder of what had been lost, a parallel to John's own struggle. John's thoughts often drifted to his family. The warm embrace of Charlotte, the joyful laughter of Emma, these were distant memories that seemed to belong to another life. The once familiar routine of home felt like a dream, and the promise he had made to his daughter haunted him. The fear of failing her, of not living up to the promise he had made, gnawed at him. There was a relentless shadow that followed him through the haze of pain and medication. Dr. Allen's words about the permanent damage to his shoulder were a constant reminder of his new reality. The loss of his physical abilities was a blow to his sense of self-worth. John had always taken pride in his strength and skill. To be told that he would never fully recover was like being stripped of his identity. He felt a deep, gnawing frustration that was as debilitating as the physical pain. His hands, once so adept at crafting stone, now trembled with the effort of even the simplest tasks. During one of his therapy sessions, John met with a counselor who specialized in helping veterans adjust to life after combat. The counselor, a gentle woman with an empathetic demeanor, listened to John's frustrations with a patience that felt both comforting and alien. "You're grieving more than just your shoulder," she said softly. "You're grieving the life you had before. It's important to allow yourself to feel this loss and to understand that it's okay to mourn." John nodded, though he struggled to articulate his feelings. The idea of mourning his previous life was difficult to accept. He had always been a man of action, not one to dwell on what had been lost. Yet, as he reflected on the counselor's words, he realized that the loss was not just of his physical capabilities but of his place in the world. The life he had built with Charlotte and Emma, the pride he had taken in his work, all of these were now distant memories. The days in the hospital grew more challenging as John faced the reality of his situation. The physical pain of his injury was compounded by the emotional strain of his recovery. The isolation from his family, the uncertainty of his future, and the constant reminder of his limitations created a suffocating sense of despair. John often found himself staring at the ceiling, lost in thoughts of what could have been. Despite the darkness that clouded his mind, there were small moments of light. The support of fellow veterans, though not always uplifting, reminded him that he was not alone in his struggle. The occasional letter from Charlotte, filled with encouragement and love, provided a glimmer of hope. Her words were a lifeline, pulling him back from the edge of hopelessness. Each letter was a reminder of what he was fighting for, a connection to the world he yearned to return to. In the midst of his struggle, John began to explore new ways to cope with his circumstances. He took up reading, immersing himself in stories that offered an escape from his reality. He found solace in the written word, a way to temporarily distance himself from the pain of his injury. Books about heroes, perseverance, and triumph over adversity became his refuge. They were a source of inspiration, a reminder that even in the darkest of times there was hope. The therapy sessions continued, each one a battle of its own. John's progress was slow, and the frustration of his limitations was often overwhelming. Yet, amidst the struggle, there were moments of clarity. He began to understand that his journey was not just about physical recovery, but about finding a new purpose. The life he had known might be gone, but he was not powerless. He could still make a difference, even if it was in a different way. John's days in the hospital were filled with small victories and setbacks. Each step forward was hard-earned, each moment of progress a testament to his resilience. The struggle was far from over, but John began to see that there was more to his recovery than just physical healing. The battle within was just as important, and it was a fight he was determined to win. As the days passed, John found a renewed sense of purpose. He began to participate in group activities with other veterans, sharing his story and listening to theirs. These interactions, though challenging, helped him to connect with others who understood his pain. They were a reminder that despite the losses he had endured, he still had the capacity to contribute and to inspire. John's journey was far from over, but he was beginning to find a new path forward. The struggles he faced were not insurmountable, and the promise he had made to Emma was a beacon guiding him through the darkest days. The road to recovery was long and arduous, but John Thompson was determined to forge ahead, driven by the hope of one day returning to the life he had once cherished. The path of redemption. As John Thompson's recovery progressed, he found himself grappling with a sense of displacement. The physical therapy sessions, though improving his mobility, did little to quell the deeper sense of loss that lingered. The man who once shaped stone with precision now struggled to perform even the simplest of tasks. The once reliable strength of his hands was now unpredictable, a cruel irony for a man whose entire life had been built upon his ability to work with his hands. John's sense of displacement extended beyond his physical limitations. He was no longer the master stonemason who commanded respect and admiration. His role in the world had shifted dramatically, and he struggled to redefine himself in this new reality. The sense of purpose he had once derived from his work was now replaced by uncertainty and frustration. The isolation of the hospital was both a refuge and a prison. The walls, lined with posters of motivational quotes and the muted colors of institutional decor, seemed to close in on him. The cacophony of hospital life, beeping machines, hushed conversations, and the constant shuffle of staff was a stark contrast to the quiet serenity of his home. John often found himself yearning for the simplicity of his previous life, the familiar routine of family dinners, and the comforting embrace of Charlotte and Emma. One afternoon, as he sat by the window in his hospital room, John noticed a group of children playing in the park across the street. Their laughter, carefree and vibrant, was a sharp contrast to his own world of pain and struggle. A pang of longing struck him. He missed watching Emma grow, sharing in her small victories and milestones. The weight of his absence in her life was a heavy burden, one that he carried with him every day. In an effort to channel his frustration into something constructive, John began to volunteer with a local veteran support group. The group provided assistance to other soldiers who were adjusting to life after combat. John's role was initially modest, helping with administrative tasks and participating in support meetings. Yet, as he interacted with other veterans, he began to find his sense of purpose. Their stories of struggle and triumph mirrored his own experiences, and sharing in their journey offered him a new perspective. The support group became a source of solace for John. The camaraderie among the members, forged through shared experiences, helped him to feel less isolated. Each meeting was a reminder that he was not alone in his struggle. The group's leader, a seasoned veteran named Tom, took John under his wing. Tom's own story was one of hardship and resilience, and his guidance proved invaluable to John. Tom's mentorship was a turning point for John. Under Tom's guidance, John began to explore new ways to contribute. He started leading workshops on resilience and coping strategies, sharing his experiences and insights with others who were facing similar challenges. The workshops were a departure from his former life, but offered a new avenue for making a difference. John found that helping others navigate their own struggles provided him with a sense of fulfillment that he had been missing. Despite the progress he was making, John's thoughts frequently wandered back to his family. The distance between him and Charlotte, both physical and emotional, weighed heavily on him. He longed to bridge that gap, to be the husband and father that they needed him to be. The letters and occasional phone calls were comforting but inadequate. John needed to be present in their lives, not just in spirit. One day, as John was preparing for a workshop, he received a phone call from Charlotte. Her voice, though strained, was filled with love and concern. "John, I've been thinking a lot about how to support you during this time," she said. "Emma and I are planning a visit. I want to bring her to see you." The news brought a wave of mixed emotions. John was thrilled at the prospect of seeing his family, but was also apprehensive. The thought of them seeing him in his current state was daunting. He feared that his injury and the changes in his life might be too overwhelming for them. Yet the desire to be with them, to feel their presence and share in their lives, was stronger than his fears. The days leading up to the visit were a whirlwind of preparation. John focused on making the hospital room as welcoming as possible, hanging photos of his family and organizing his belongings. The anticipation of their arrival brought a renewed sense of hope and purpose. When the day finally arrived, John waited anxiously by the window, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The sight of Charlotte and Emma approaching the hospital entrance was both exhilarating and nerve-wracking. Charlotte's face was etched with concern but brightened with a warm smile as she saw John. Emma's eyes, wide with curiosity and excitement, scanned the room as she clutched a small stuffed animal. The reunion was emotional, filled with tears and heartfelt embraces. Charlotte's touch was soothing, a reminder of the love and support that had always been there. Emma, though initially hesitant, quickly warmed to her father's presence, her laughter filling the room like a balm to John's weary soul. The time they spent together was precious, a reminder of what he had been fighting for all along. During their visit, John and Charlotte spoke openly about the challenges they had faced during his absence. Charlotte shared the struggles of managing their home and supporting Emma, while John opened up about his own difficulties with recovery and his feelings of inadequacy. The conversation was cathartic, a chance for both of them to express their fears and hopes for the future. As the visit came to an end, John felt a renewed sense of determination. The love and support of his family were powerful motivators, reminding him of the strength he had within himself. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but John was no longer facing it alone. With Charlotte and Emma by his side, he felt a renewed sense of hope and purpose. The path of redemption was not without its obstacles, but John was committed to walking it with the same resilience that had defined his life before. The fire within. The days following the visit from Charlotte and Emma were filled with a new sense of purpose for John Thompson. Their presence had rekindled a fire within him, a reminder of the life he was fighting to reclaim. With renewed determination, he threw himself into his volunteer work with the Veterans Support Group, channeling his energy into helping others find their own paths to healing. John's involvement with the support group had grown significantly. He now led a variety of workshops, from practical skills sessions to emotional support discussions. His workshops on resilience became particularly popular, drawing veterans from all walks of life. John's unique perspective, shaped by his own struggles, allowed him to connect with others on a profound level. His ability to empathize and offer practical advice provided a glimmer of hope to those grappling with their own challenges. Despite his growing role in the support group, John still faced moments of doubt. The physical limitations imposed by his injury were a constant reminder of what he had lost. Simple tasks, such as lifting objects or performing delicate movements, were now difficult and painful. The frustration of not being able to fully recover was a recurring theme in his life, a source of anxiety and self-doubt. One evening, after a particularly taxing day, John sat alone in his hospital room, staring out the window at the city below. The view, once a source of inspiration, now seemed distant and out of reach. The lights of the city twinkled in the darkness, a stark contrast to the shadows of his own thoughts. He was overwhelmed by a sense of futility, a fear that he would never be able to fully contribute to the world again. In the midst of his despair, John received a call from Tom, the support group leader. Tom's voice was calm and reassuring. "John, I know things have been tough lately. I wanted to remind you of the impact you've made. Your workshops have helped countless veterans find their way. You're making a difference, even if it doesn't always feel that way." Tom's words were a much-needed balm for John's spirit. They reminded him that his efforts were not in vain, that his contributions were valued and meaningful. The encouragement helped John to refocus on his goals and to push through the moments of self-doubt. He realized that his journey was not just about physical recovery, but about finding a new way to make a difference in the world. As he continued his work with the support group, John began to explore other avenues for personal growth. He took up painting, an activity that allowed him to express his emotions in a different way. The process of creating art provided a therapeutic outlet for his feelings of frustration and hope. John's paintings, often abstract and vibrant, became a reflection of his internal struggles and triumphs. Each brushstroke was a testament to his resilience, a way to reclaim a part of himself that had been lost. John's new hobby also opened up opportunities for community engagement. He started participating in local art exhibits, showcasing his work and sharing his story with others. The art exhibits provided a platform for John to connect with people outside of the veteran community. His interactions with visitors, many of whom were touched by his story, offered a fresh perspective on his journey. The feedback and support from the community were a source of encouragement, reinforcing his belief that he still had much to offer. One day, as John was preparing for an art exhibit, he received a call that would change the course of his life. A local charity dedicated to supporting families of wounded veterans had heard about John's story and his work with the support group. They were interested in featuring him as a guest speaker at their upcoming fundraiser. The opportunity to speak to a wider audience about his experiences and to support a cause close to his heart was both exciting and daunting. John accepted the invitation with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. Preparing for the speech required him to reflect deeply on his journey, to articulate his experiences and insights in a way that would resonate with others. He spent countless hours rehearsing, writing, and revising his speech, determined to convey his message with authenticity and impact. The day of the fundraiser arrived, and John stood before a large audience, his heart pounding with nervous energy. The room was filled with people from various walks of life, all gathered to support the charity's mission. As John took the stage, he was struck by the gravity of the moment. This was more than just a speech. It was an opportunity to share his story, to inspire others, and to make a difference. John's speech was a heartfelt account of his journey from soldier to stonemason to wounded veteran. He spoke about the challenges he had faced, the moments of despair, and the small victories that had kept him going. He shared the impact of his family's support, the significance of his work with the support group, and the role of art in his healing process. His words were met with a profound silence, followed by a standing ovation. The audience's response was overwhelming, a testament to the power of his story and the impact of his journey. The fundraiser was a resounding success, raising significant funds for the charity and bringing greater awareness to the needs of families affected by war. John's involvement in the event marked a new chapter in his life. He had not only found a way to contribute to a cause he cared about, but had also discovered a new sense of purpose. The experience reaffirmed his belief in the importance of sharing his story and supporting others who were navigating their own paths to recovery. As John looked back on his journey, he saw a path marked by struggle, growth, and redemption. The fire within him, ignited by the love of his family and the support of his community, had fueled his transformation. The challenges he had faced had shaped him into a different person, one who was still learning to navigate his new reality. The resilience, hope, and determination that had carried him through the darkest days continued to guide him forward. The road ahead was still uncertain, but John embraced it with a renewed sense of purpose. His journey was a testament to the power of resilience and the importance of finding meaning in even the most difficult circumstances. As he moved forward, John remained committed to making a difference, both in his own life and in the lives of others. The fire within him burned brightly, a beacon of hope and strength in the face of adversity. The catalyst. As John Thompson's role within the veterans support community grew, so did his sense of purpose. His involvement in art, public speaking, and mentoring had transformed him from a struggling veteran into a beacon of hope for others facing similar challenges. Yet, despite the progress he had made, John was acutely aware that his journey was far from over. The inner battles, though quieter, were still present, and the quest for a renewed sense of belonging and impact continued. The charity event opened doors for John, and he began receiving invitations to speak at various forums, schools, and community gatherings. His story, once a source of personal anguish, had become a powerful tool for education and inspiration. The more he shared his experiences, the more he realized how his narrative resonated with people from all walks of life. It became clear that his journey was not just about personal recovery, but also about sparking change and understanding in others. One of the most impactful invitations came from a local high school that wanted John to speak to their students about resilience and overcoming adversity. The school had a diverse student body, many of whom came from challenging backgrounds. The principal, Mrs. Elaine Roberts, believed that John's story could provide valuable lessons in perseverance and hope. John was both honored and nervous about the opportunity. Speaking to a group of young people, many of whom were still forming their understanding of the world, was a daunting prospect. He knew that his message needed to be both relatable and empowering, offering practical advice while also inspiring courage and strength. In the weeks leading up to the speech, John worked diligently to craft his message. He spoke with Mrs. Roberts to better understand the students' backgrounds and the specific challenges they faced. His aim was to connect with them on a personal level, to show them that resilience was not just a concept, but a tangible force that could guide them through their own difficulties. On the day of the speech, John arrived at the high school feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. The school auditorium was filled with students, their chatter and laughter creating a lively atmosphere. As John took the stage, he was struck by the earnestness of their faces. He knew that this was an opportunity to make a significant impact, and he was determined to use it wisely. John began his speech with a story from his own life, a moment that he had not shared publicly before. It was a story from his childhood, a time when he faced a significant challenge and learned a valuable lesson about perseverance. He spoke about the doubts and fears he had faced and how he had overcome them with determination and support from those around him. The story was a reflection of his journey, illustrating the power of resilience in the face of adversity. As he spoke, John watched the students' reactions. Some were visibly moved, while others seemed deep in thought. He could see that his words were striking a chord, and he felt a growing sense of connection with the audience. He spoke about the importance of setting goals, seeking support, and believing in oneself, emphasizing that these principles could help them navigate their own challenges. After the speech, John held a Q&A session, allowing students to ask questions and share their own experiences. The discussion was lively and heartfelt, with students opening up about their struggles and triumphs. John's responses were candid and empathetic, offering advice based on his own experiences and the lessons he had learned. The exchange was both humbling and empowering, reinforcing John's belief in the importance of sharing his story. As John left the high school, he felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The experience had been both challenging and rewarding, and he had witnessed firsthand the impact of his message. The students had responded with enthusiasm and gratitude, and John knew that he had made a difference in their lives. In the weeks that followed, John continued to receive positive feedback from the school and the students. Many had reached out to express their appreciation and to share how his words had inspired them. The experience had also prompted John to reflect on his own journey and the ways in which he could continue to contribute to the community. As the reporter interviewed John, he was struck by the depth of his reflections. John spoke about the importance of resilience, the role of support from family and community, and the power of finding purpose in the face of adversity. The interview was both a personal reflection and a call to action, encouraging readers to embrace their own journeys with courage and determination. The newspaper article was published to widespread acclaim, and John's story gained significant attention. The article highlighted his journey from a struggling veteran to a source of inspiration for others. It also featured testimonials from those who had been touched by his message, further amplifying the impact of his work. As John's story continued to spread, he was invited to participate in a national conference focused on veteran issues and community support. The conference brought together leaders, activists, and advocates from across the country, providing a platform for discussing challenges and solutions related to veterans and their families. John's participation in the conference was a milestone in his journey. It offered him the opportunity to connect with others who shared his commitment to supporting veterans and their families. The conference sessions were filled with discussions on policy, resources, and best practices, and John's contributions were met with respect and enthusiasm. During the conference, John participated in a panel discussion on the importance of community support for veterans. His insights, drawn from his personal experiences and his work with the support group, were well received by the audience. The discussion highlighted the need for continued advocacy and support for veterans, emphasizing the role of community engagement in fostering recovery and resilience. As the conference came to a close, John felt a renewed sense of purpose and determination. The connections he had made and the conversations he had participated in reinforced his belief in the importance of collective effort in addressing veteran issues. He left the conference with a clear vision of how he could continue to contribute to the cause and make a meaningful impact in the lives of others. John's journey had come full circle. From the depths of his struggle to the heights of his contributions, he had found a new sense of purpose and fulfillment. His experiences had shaped him into a catalyst for change, inspiring others and advocating for a more supportive and compassionate community. The fire within John Thompson burned brightly, fueled by his own journey and his commitment to making a difference. As he continued to navigate his path, he remained dedicated to helping others find their own resilience and strength. His story was a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of support, and the transformative impact of embracing one's purpose. The legacy. As the seasons changed, so did the chapters of John Thompson's life. The journey from a wounded veteran struggling to find his place to a powerful advocate for resilience and hope had been transformative. The culmination of his efforts and experiences had not only reshaped his own life, but had begun to leave an indelible mark on those around him. The final leg of John's journey was about consolidating his legacy, ensuring that the lessons he had learned and the impact he had made would endure beyond his own lifetime. John's work with veterans and the broader community had garnered significant recognition. He was now a well-respected figure in advocacy circles, frequently consulted for his insights and experiences. His speeches, workshops, and art exhibitions had become a cornerstone of his outreach efforts. Yet, as he approached the next phase of his life, he felt a deep calling to create something that would have a lasting impact, a tangible legacy that could continue to inspire and support others long after he was gone. One evening, as John sat in his studio surrounded by his paintings, he reflected on his journey. The art that had once been a personal outlet for expression had evolved into a powerful medium for communication. Each piece told a story of struggle, resilience, and hope. John realized that his art could be more than just personal expression. It could become a beacon of inspiration for others. With this realization, John began to work on a new project, a series of art installations that would bring together his experiences and the stories of others. The installations were designed to be immersive, combining visual art with interactive elements that allowed viewers to engage with the themes of resilience and recovery. Each installation would tell a different aspect of his journey, as well as the stories of those he had met along the way. The project, which he named the Resilience Gallery, was both ambitious and deeply personal. John envisioned the gallery as a traveling exhibit, moving from city to city and reaching a diverse audience. The goal was to create a space where people could experience the power of art and storytelling, and where they could find solace and inspiration. As John began to bring his vision to life, he enlisted the help of artists, veterans, and community members. The collaborative nature of the project was integral to its success. Each participant brought their own perspective and creativity, enriching the installations and making them more meaningful. The process of working together was both challenging and rewarding, fostering a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. The Resilience Gallery's debut was met with enthusiasm and support. The opening event was held in a large, open space that allowed for the immersive installations to shine. The gallery featured a range of interactive exhibits, from large-scale murals to smaller, intimate displays. Each installation was accompanied by personal narratives and reflections, offering viewers a deeper understanding of the themes being explored. John's speech at the gallery's opening was a poignant reflection on his journey. He spoke about the importance of resilience and the role of community in fostering recovery. His words resonated with the audience, many of whom were moved by the personal stories and the powerful visual representations of struggle and hope. The gallery quickly gained traction, traveling to various cities and receiving acclaim for its innovative approach to storytelling and art. The Resilience Gallery became a catalyst for dialogue and reflection, encouraging people to share their own stories and to connect with others who had faced similar challenges. The impact of the gallery was far-reaching, touching the lives of many and fostering a sense of community and solidarity. As the gallery's success continued, John also focused on expanding his outreach efforts. He partnered with educational institutions, providing workshops and resources that complemented the themes of the gallery. Schools and universities embraced the opportunity to integrate the gallery's messages into their curricula, offering students a unique perspective on resilience and personal growth. In addition to his work with the gallery, John remained committed to his role within the veterans support community. He continued to lead workshops and support sessions, using his platform to advocate for improved resources and support for veterans and their families. His efforts contributed to a growing movement focused on addressing the needs of veterans and creating more inclusive and supportive communities. John's legacy began to take shape not only through his art and advocacy, but also through the lives he touched and the changes he inspired. He received numerous letters and messages from individuals who had been moved by his story and have found hope and strength through his work. These expressions of gratitude were a testament to the impact of his journey and the power of sharing one's story. In his later years, John took the time to reflect on the broader implications of his work. He recognized that his journey had been both personal and universal, a testament to the human spirit's capacity for resilience and transformation. His story was not just about his own struggles, but about the shared experiences of many who had faced adversity and found a way to overcome it. As he looked towards the future, John remained focused on ensuring that his legacy would continue to inspire and support others. He established a foundation dedicated to promoting resilience and supporting veterans and their families. The foundation, named the Thompson Foundation for Resilience, aimed to provide resources, funding, and support for initiatives that aligned with John's mission of fostering hope and recovery. John's final years were marked by a sense of fulfillment and peace. He continued to be involved in his foundation, the Resilience Gallery, and his advocacy work. His impact was evident in the countless lives he had touched and the communities he had helped to transform. As John's journey drew to a close, he took comfort in knowing that his legacy would endure through the work he had done and the lives he had changed. His story, once marked by struggle and pain, had become a powerful testament to the strength of the human spirit and the importance of finding purpose and meaning in even the most challenging circumstances. John Thompson's legacy was a beacon of hope and resilience, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, there is always the potential for transformation and renewal. His journey was a testament to the power of perseverance, the impact of community, and the enduring strength of the human spirit.